The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, this is, in fact, ladies and gentlemen, the aftermath of Shakur Stevenson's recent Snooze fest against Edwin Santos. We're going to talk about all the things that have happened since Thursday because we've had all Fridays to dissect it. Saturday and now we're here on Sunday, so we've had about 3 days now. So I think enough's happened and it's worth talking about because Shakur Stevenson, one of the brightest young stars in boxing, one of the brightest young talents in boxing, and he's in a very intriguing place in his career right now. So I'm definitely gonna have lots to discuss over the next hour or so. But do me a favor, guys, as you're tuning in, please make sure you definitely go ahead and smash that like button so this video gets out to as many people as possible. The same thing goes out to people who are watching this on the playback, because I know I will have people that will stop by here on the playback. But yeah, man, great to be here. Great to be here as always. And look, I know I've said a lot of mean things about Shakur or not so nice things, and it's not really come from a place of hate. The reality is Shakur Stevenson, I've been a fan of him. I've been supporting him since before he was even in the Olympics. So everything I'm saying is not coming from a place of anger or hatred. It's coming from a place of love. But nonetheless, before we get into the live, let's take some time to acknowledge the fine folks that have already stopped by here. Shout out to all 17 of you here. We got my main man, Eddie Morales. Shout out to Eddie. Eddie's in the building. Shout out to Eddie. We got Eddie in the building. We got Jesus Sem. Salute to you, Eddie. Salute to Jesus. We got my main man, Enrique. Shout out to Enrique. He said, let's go BT. El Rosto says, fuck Shakur. USA boxing is dying. We'll have a lot to say on that later on as well. Get the likes up. Yes. Listen to Brandon Clark. Yes, sir. Dundada, True School Sport, pound for pound of the YTBC. Appreciate that, Dundada. Always good seeing you. Yeah, he did a great job. We'll get to that in a second. And my man said, Paul, I wish they could have called an old contest just like they used to back in the day. So, yeah, man, listen, I know a lot of people that feel like that. I've said myself that I think Shakur performed so bad at times in the fight, even though he won technically won the fight, but his performance was so bad and shambolic that I think the belt should just go vacant. Like you said, no contest. That'd probably be the way to go. Last comment here, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the live. A shout out to Ghost. He says, salute, speed kills. Edwin Santos is more talented than Shakur. It's a matter of time before he takes over 130, 135. And I like that. That's a nice hot button take. And I'll definitely get into that later on. But listen, man, look, I know it's Sunday. And look, it's Sunday, right? So we know with Shakur Stevenson, God has blessed Shakur Stevenson with a lot of talent. He's a fighter that, has always been pegged to be one of the fighters that could really go ahead and, make a name for himself, be one of those stars for American boxing. And, I know not everybody here may not be a Christian, so I get it, but I feel like what I'm about to show you guys is universal and it applies to Shakur Stevenson and it's practical and you could apply it in even your own life. So we're going to go to Pastor. I'm going to be Pastor BT here for a second. We're going to turn to Luke 12:48 and I'm only going to read the half of it because there's a specific part that I wanted to highlight because I feel like it applies directly to my main man, Shakur Stevenson. It says right here, it says, for unto whomsoever much is given, of him much shall be required, and to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask more. So basically, if God gives you talent, if he gives you the ability to operate at a high level in anything, then much more be required from you. And that's why the criticism of Shakur Stevenson is so harsh. That's why people are really ripping into Shakur Stevenson, because we know he's better than he showed, and he, much more is expected of him than most fighters. Now, for most fighters, to be a 3-division champion, to be someone that's accomplished what he's accomplished at 26 years old would be a dream career. But for Shakur Stevenson, much more has been given to him. Therefore, much more will be required for him in his boxing journey. So now that we got that established on True School Sports, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the live. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Shakur Stevenson's at a really interesting place in his career because this is a guy that, that was his last fight with Top Rank, and Top Rank pulled out all the stops to try to see what they had in terms of market value, because there's the fighter's talent in the ring, but every fighter has market value, meaning that the value they bring to the industry of boxing and the networks and the overall bottom line of the sport. Every fighter has a market value. Everybody in any line of business has a market value. So Top Rank, they didn't put on pay-per-view, but they tried to stage Shakur Stevenson during a big event in Vegas, which was Formula One weekend. Unfortunately for Shakur, it was beyond his control. Formula One didn't even sell that well, so that kind of hurt his event. And then on top of that, because of the fact that Formula One didn't do well, the tickets, a lot of them were given out for free, and it was an empty arena. So his contract is expiring actually next year. My bad. It's expiring next year in 2024. And with that fight, that's like what I think is second time in the last 5 fights or so for Shakur where he's had a performance like this. Because remember, back in the summer of 2021 when he fought Jeremiah Nakatilia, Shakur Stevenson didn't perform very well. He fought a guy who at the time many of us didn't know who he was. He was an African cop, and Shakur Stevenson wound up, turning in a very, very boring performance. And that's kind of where it began for Shakur. And, this is becoming a recurring theme. Every time he fights somebody who seems to have punching power, Shakur Stevenson goes into ultra conservative mode. He goes into ultra defense mode. And I won't even say defense. I would just say he'll go into ultra, he just doesn't want to open up at all because of the fear of what's the opponent is throwing at him, right? And I think this is leaving a very sour taste in the mouths of a lot of boxing fans and a lot of casual boxing fans, because we've been sold that Shakur Stevenson is this, that, and the third, and we're not the performances are not matching the hype. And so it's hurting his market value, which is going to play a big role in his career later on down the line, because, this is Shakur Stevenson. He's got ambitions of fighting the likes of Devin Haney and Gervonta Davis. And those are all fighters who, in this calendar year, you look at 2023, Devin Haney, although many people thought he lost Lomachenko, a lot of people thought Devin Haney and Lomachenko's fight was very entertaining. I was entertained by the fight, right? Because he was in the pocket. He was giving some good body shots. Tank is probably the biggest star in American boxing of the American fighters. And I was there when he fought Ryan Garcia, and he is box office. He is a big time attraction when it comes to the sport of boxing. So he may be on par with his peers in terms of in the ring, but out the ring, market value wise, I think it's safe to say that Shakur Stevenson is lacking very severely. So that's just my take on. I think he couldn't have picked the worst time to have a sorry performance than right now, because the reality is, I don't know if Top Rank is going to feel comfortable, continuing to promote Shakur and paying him big purses and putting him on pay-per-view. I mean, who's gonna buy that on pay-per-view? So that's the situation his career is in at this present moment in time. So yeah, man. Let me see. We got any comments? I'll get to the comments in a second. But look, I'm not new to Shakur Stevenson. I've been following him for a long time. Like, I've been following Shakur Stevenson since before the Olympics. My first ever time I heard about Shakur Stevenson was in April of 2016 at the Earl Spence Chris Algieri card. A lot of people were telling me who he was because he was there at the fight, and there was a lot of hype. He had built up some good hype in the amateurs. And it's funny because I interviewed him, and I was going through some of my Shakur Stevenson interviews today before this live as I was preparing for the live. And I found this clip of Shakur Stevenson describing his fighting style. And I want to play it for you guys, and I kind of want to dissect what he said. So here's how a young pre-Olympic Shakur Stevenson described his fighting style when I asked him in 2016. Have a listen. Most people might not know or be familiar with your fighting style. Just describe your fighting style and, just some things about Shakur Stevenson that most people don't know.
I'm a slick southpaw who uses mind in the ring. I'm not like the fastest, not the strongest. I'm more of a thinker. Like, I can pick you apart, and I could change it up sometimes. Like, sometimes I can be aggressive. Most of the time I try to box you, but if I got to get aggressive on you, I could.
Have it. So he told you who he was. He told you he was a thinking fighter, but he said that he had that sort of aggression in his style. And it's crazy, right? Because sometimes I feel like when we're younger, we're actually smarter. And when we get older, we're not as smart as we were when we were younger. And I think that was the perfect assessment of Shakur's style. At his best, when he's not being this overly cautious, overly conservative fighter, at his best, Shakur Stevenson is an elite boxer who has that sort of aggression, like in the Jamel Herring fight, the Toga Khan Clary fight. These are the kind of fights I think of, Felix Caraballo, all those fights. That to me is the real Shakur Stevenson. And I feel like what happened with Nakatilia and what happened with Edwin Santos, I just think mentally there's a mentality thing that's not there's something not quite right with the Shakur Stevenson mentality. And mind you, this is a guy that, forget us, forget you, forget me, forget everybody else, he's placed a lot of expectations on himself. When I interviewed Shakur Stevenson leading up to the Oscar Valdez fight, he made some bold proclamations about the caliber of fighter he is. Here's what he said.
American boxing has been looking for a star for a long time. Is this that time where you step into that role? You feel like?
You said what?
Like a lot of.
I am. Yeah. I think I heard you. I am.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to hold you too much longer.
Yeah, I am that star. I feel like this fight right here, we fight somebody at 30. I'm definitely going to show out. I think that I'm gonna step into them shoes of a Sugar Ray Leonard or Floyd Mayweather type caliber fighter after this.
Okay.
You heard what he said. He didn't mince his words. He said, and I quote, "I'm going to step into the shoes of a Floyd Mayweather, Sugar Ray Leonard type of fighter." Well, when Floyd Mayweather and Sugar Ray Leonard were his current age right now, they were not routinely having performances like this against punchers. And I think Shakur Stevenson is going to have to get to a point in his career where he actually, starts fighting in the pocket against punchers, because you can't fight that ultra cautious style forever. I don't care if it's against, Tank or Regis Prograis or somebody at 140, but there's going to come a fight where, as good as he is defensively, he's going to have to sit and fight. Or he may fight a fight where maybe his boxing ain't up to par, and maybe he puts himself in a hole where he's actually getting outboxed. And then what? He's going to have to bite down on that gum shield and fight someone back. Because if he doesn't do that in that scenario, then he'll wind up losing the fight. So you can't call yourself a Floyd Mayweather, Sugar Ray Leonard type fighter and just routinely have these performances where when you fight punchers, you don't feel like you should be throwing any punches. And that's my gripe with Shakur. I feel like he's got the ability. I feel like he can be better than what he's showing, but mentally, I don't know if it's something in the gym. I mean, I'm not expecting him to ever be like a Gervonta Davis type of fighter, but he's gonna have to start showing against punchers at some point in his career, because if he doesn't, mark my words, and clip this if you want, but mark my words, if he doesn't ever learn how to fight in the pocket against above average to elite power punching fighters, he's gonna be in big trouble down the road. So there's that, and this isn't new. Like if you guys watch the post-fight interview, he said after the Edwin De Los Santos fight that basically, he was sick, he didn't feel well, he would have did better if he felt better. And it's crazy because when I was going through my clips, he said the same thing after the Nakatilia fight. Listen, this is Shakur Stevenson. Look, this is Shakur Stevenson last year before the Valdez fight, when I saw him at the Top Rank gym talking about the Nakatilia fight. Listen to what he said. It's literally the exact same thing he said after the De Los Santos fight. Listen up.
A lot of critics saying he don't got no punching power. He don't like to stand there and fight. I wouldn't even prove a lot of people wrong. I know I could do anything in the ring. I feel like I'm blessed with the boxing passion that I studied the sport, so I could go in there and beat you up. I could go in there and outbox you. I got the best of both worlds, I feel like, and I definitely showed in my last fight. I feel like the fights before that I was standing there beating people up, it just, it wasn't as big as fights, so a lot of people ain't really pay attention to what I was doing, the Toka Khan, or even when I brung boxing back and forth, Cairo Bio, and I stopped him with a body shot. I was standing there fighting him.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
I think people just forgot about it with one bad night, and that's how I go in boxing. You have one off night, and
It wasn't that
everybody
bad.
forget
You won
about
every
your great
round.
night. Yeah, it was bad for me though. It
True.
wasn't me
Yep.
feeling like
Yep.
I could pick up the pace how I wanted to. I had to outboxed him basically, and I could have did more if I was feeling a lot better.
So there you have it. That's literally him going into the Valdez fight, a couple of fights removed from the Nakatilia fight. What he said there was no different than what he said in his post-fight interview against Edwin de los Santos. And I don't like it. I don't like it for Shakur because I feel like he's better than what he's showing. I feel like, I don't know if it's the pressure of being, the having all these expectations thrusted upon him, but he's gonna have to make some adjustments, some tweaks, and I think he's capable of it. I'm not ready to fully give up on Shakur Stevenson. So yeah, and then the last clip I will play before I get back to the comments. Right, that same gym visit when I went to the Top Rank gym, I asked Shakur Stevenson a very specific question I never heard anybody ask. I asked Shakur Stevenson, with him being an elite southpaw, has he studied any tape on one of the elite southpaws of yesteryear, which is Michael Nunn, the great middleweight champion? And there was a specific reason I asked him that question, but here's what his response was when I asked him that question about Michael Nunn.
Yeah, with you being a skilled southpaw, I wanted to ask, have you ever watched any tapes on Michael Nunn?
You know who told me to watch him? Floyd.
Yeah?
Floyd said Michael Nunn was a good fighter. He told me to watch Michael Nunn, but I watched a little bit of him. I ain't really get too much into it. I gotta probably find the right fight.
Maybe like if you do watch his fights, maybe like Frank Tate or Colin Bay. Fight named Sambu Colin Bay. Those are good fights to watch.
Okay, so when I go home and watch it, but I kind of watch him. He
kind of a taller guy.
Yeah, tall,
taller
guy.
He
got a lot of range, but like I said, I ain't really get into it. I'm gonna probably check him out.
Okay.
The reason I asked Shakur Stevenson that question was because I was thinking about what he said about Nakatilia, and Michael Nunn was a lot like Shakur Stevenson in some ways. I mean, I think he's a better fighter than Shakur, but I'm saying offensively. But Michael Nunn had fights in his career. People said he was boring, and then he couldn't punch. And then when he fought Frank Tate, or was it no? When he fought Colin Bay, who was known as a puncher, he was able to, show that he was more than just a mover and more than just a good technical boxer. So that's why I asked that question. And I know I've been informed by some people in boxing that Shakur Stevenson does sometimes come across my videos. So Shakur Stevenson, if you do come across this video, I would like to know. It'd be nice to know if he actually went ahead and watched any Michael Nunn, because judging by the way he's fighting, there's no way he's watching Michael Nunn. I just can't see it, because Michael Nunn was in there throwing combinations. But I digress. Anyway. Let me acknowledge some comments because I do see we do have quite a lot of comments. Shout out to everyone here. Let me see. We got my man QC. Where's that one comment? I saw one comment. Shout out to my guy. QC says shout out to BT, and I see Pops in the chat. Hope you fellas are good down in Florida. Just supporting the channel as usual. Shakur had a bad night. Hope it happens, but he's got to redeem himself next fight. He does, and If I'm not sure when his his contract is done. I'm not sure if it's early 2024 or middle 2024. But if he has one more fight on his Top Rank deal, I would like to see Shakur Stevenson fight like a William Zepeda. I know there was a lot of talking about Zepeda not wanting to fight him, but I think that's the kind of fight we want. Shakur is obviously good enough to lower the punch output of anybody, but man, I like to see him in there with someone like that, because at some point he's gonna have to fight someone, and if it's not him, then obviously Tank is the fight that he wants. But with that kind of performance, his market value's down. So with a guy like Tank who's got so many options, I don't know if that's going to be a fight that winds up actually getting signed to deliver. But that's just me. Shower G says, hey BT, can you please do a video on Trevor Bryant's knockout loss, love from London? I made one, but then I deleted it because I felt like I was a little bit too disrespectful in the video. So maybe when I get some time, I might have to talk about that, because that loss right there, that one right there really it was sad to watch. I mean, Trevor Bryant didn't live the life of a fighter, and he hadn't been for quite some time. So I guess I'll have to actually make a video about it at some point. But yeah, shout out to you, Shower G. Shout out to Robert Santos. He says, I'm disappointed in De Los Santos. To be honest, I knew once Shakur felt the power, it was Nakatilia again. De Los Santos was talking crap and didn't do shit. You know, I'll say this about De Los Santos. He could have did more, but at the same time, it's like you're already fighting Shakur Stevenson, who's extremely good. He knows his range. He knows how to keep guys at a good distance. He knows his distance. He's already hard to hit regardless. But then when you got a referee in Tony Weeks who, you know, doesn't police any of the clinching, because anytime De Los Santos got past the lead hand of Shakur and closed the gap, Shakur, before Shakur even initiates the clinch, he's looking at Tony Weeks, and Tony Weeks is bailing him out. Tony Weeks ain't really doing much. So I do believe he was a little handcuffed, and I thought he fought as good as he possibly could have under those circumstances. If you would have told me, BT, this is going to be a fight that's fought primarily, you know, at long to mid range, I would have said Shakur Stevenson's going to blow out Edwin De Los Santos, and that's not what happened, which is kind of concerning. But nonetheless, that's how I see it. William Foster wasn't scared of Edwin like that. William Foster is a really awkward guy. He's a real awkward guy. I gotta watch that fight. I haven't seen that actual fight. I just know that Edwin lost to William Foster. Then William Foster got beat up by Henry LeBron. So it is what it is. And my man Hercules says, second to none was not boring. Now, I don't think he was boring. I'm not saying he was boring, but if you go back and you watch certain fights of his, the commentary, there were fights where the commentators and some people were saying that he was boring. And I was just using that as an example. So, yeah. Go find the video where he said he'll fight Manny. Yeah, I've seen that. Listen, if Shakur were to fight a Manny Pacquiao only had one fight at 135, right? And that was, I believe, the David Diaz fight. And I'm sorry, like, Shakur can box and everything, but he's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna do anything with that version of Pacquiao. But that's just me. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, there's a lot more I want to talk about, so I'm gonna go back to screen share. Make sure you smash that like button. Shout out to all 45 of you here. Hit that like button, super chat, all that good stuff, because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to discuss, and I have a lot of I seen a lot of tweets on Twitter. I seen a lot of things we're talking about, and I kind of want to get my little 2 cents on them. Now, actually, hold on. Let me delay the screen share because I actually had another 2 clips I wanted to show you guys because, you know, Shakur Stevenson got booed by the whole of the T-Mobile Arena. There wasn't a lot of people at the T-Mobile Arena, and all these clips on Twitter started resurfacing of Gervonta Davis, because Gervonta Davis was getting booed when he fought Gamboa, and people were playing like this clip from one of his vlogs. And then they were playing what Shakur Stevenson said in response to fans, you know, booing him. So I wanted to play that for you guys and kind of go from there and dissect. So here's what Shakur Stevenson said in response to fans booing him in the T-Mobile Arena against De Los Santos.
When I hear booing, I don't care. I seen the greats get booed. I seen Andre Ward get booed. I seen Floyd get booed. I seen Terrence Crawford. Go watch his early fights in his career when he was outboxing people and they wanted him to stand there and trade. I seen him get booed. So I don't care. I mean, and then they some nights you're gonna have these nights, and then some nights they gonna love you. So the nights that they love me, I can't wait for them.
So yeah, he said the nights that they love me, I can't wait for them, right? But you know, I guess it's not a bad response, but it's not as good of a response as what Gervonta Davis said when he was getting booed by Gamboa. This is what you want to hear a fighter say when he's getting booed, if you're a boxing fan.
Man, you know you got press time to do. You guys are easy to work with. Like, thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm like, what?
Nah.
They don't boo me.
Congrats.
They was like, boo. I'm like, what? I ain't say that. I don't get booed. I don't get booed.
I see you. I'm like, oh.
So there you have it. You know, Tank wasn't having it. Tank's like, look, I'm not getting booed. If it comes down to it and people are here to watch me fight, you know, I don't want them to be, you know, not satisfied. And I feel like Tank, he's a fighter that he sees himself as almost too good to get booed. And he fought accordingly, and he wound up eventually stopping Gamboa. It took him a long time because Gamboa had one leg, and that was the fight where he hurt his leg in the early part of the fight. But he got the stoppage and gave people a good night of boxing. So that's what it is. And my thing is this, you know, that's, I know for Shakur, is like the biggest fight in boxing for him. is Gervonta Davis, and he's gonna have to find that middle ground of being that defensively sound fighter, and being a guy that isn't afraid to bite down on his gumshoe when need be. Because again, that overly cautious style that he has, it's only gonna get him but so far. Even look, I was just talking about this today. Shout out to my main man Eric Lanzis Jr. A local fighter here in South Florida. I go running with him every Sunday, and I went running with him and another fighter named Luis Hernandez and another fighter named Sense Boy from Nigeria. We went down to South Beach today, and I ran like 9 miles. And on my way to running the 9 miles, we were talking about boxing, and his dad, shout out to Eric Lanzis Sr., he was telling me about a fight that he thinks is going to be a very tough fight for Shakur, and it's a fight that might happen next or very soon, with Top Rank, and that's him potentially fighting Emmanuel Vaquero Navarrete. Now, I know Navarrete went life and death with Robertson Constanzao, who Shakur beat pretty easily, but styles make fights. And one thing we know about Emmanuel Vaquero Navarrete is that you better be conditioned for 12 rounds. And you're not going to go the whole fight without having to sit there and fight him, because he's so awkward, and the gas tank is so elite, and he has that real subtle body punching ability. I really do think that's a fight like that, Tank, them kind of fights are the kind of fights where I think Shakur is going to have to bite down on that gumshoe at some point, and he's going to have to fight. And that's what we want to see from him. So, yeah, that's what it is there. As far as Edwin De Los Santos, because I know people were talking about De Los Santos having success on with Shakur Stevenson, and let's talk about that. So shout out to my main man on Twitter, Action Jackson. He had a interesting take here on the fight, and here's what he said. He said, I watched Stevenson versus De Los Santos with no volume, and defense to offense can definitely win you the fight, but just creating distance can't win the fight. Shakur's jabs were out of range and got countered a lot. Edwin won almost every exchange, and he was the ring general. The rematch is needed. Now, I'm very sure that Top Rank and the powers that be are not eager to put on a rematch. But I haven't had a chance to rewatch the fight yet. I'm going to rewatch the fight at some point this week and do a video about it. But yeah, I do agree with some of his assessment. I do think there were a lot of moments in the fight where when Shakur would jab, he wasn't able to really cover that real estate and close the gap like we're accustomed to seeing. And that's why I feel like maybe he might have been more overcautious, because one thing about Shakur Stevenson is he's very economical, meaning that when he does commit to his offense and he does punch, more oftentimes than not, he's able to score, especially with that lead southpaw jab. And when he wasn't scoring with the lead southpaw jab, that put him into an even more cautious, more overly defensive mode. So I'm not sure if because I know a lot of people have been saying Edwin won the fight. I'm not sure if Edwin actually went ahead and won the fight, but he definitely won some rounds, and he was winning rounds, in the kind of fight that you would have thought going in would have favored Shakur. You would have never thought in your wildest dreams Edwin De Los Santos would win, 3 rounds or more against Shakur Stevenson, boxing from the mid-range to outside. But nonetheless, that's what happened. So we'll see. We'll see with that. And, there's been a lot of fan backlash. There's been a lot of fan outrage with this fight and whatnot. And everyone has their 2 cents about, the aftermath of the fight. And, shout out to Looney Tune Boxing. He does those boxing cartoons. I interviewed him back in 2019 when he was first coming up in social media and whatnot. But he said, look, and I feel like this would probably reflect the attitude of a lot of casual boxing fans. If this is the future pound for pound king, then I don't want to watch boxing anymore. And that's just what it is. A lot of people feel this way. A lot of people weren't satisfied with the Shakur Stevenson performance. And I think, look, I think the thing that's going to tell us the most about Shakur Stevenson in the near future is when his contract is up and will Top Rank actually resign Shakur Stevenson? Because if Top Rank decides, hey, this guy is not worth resigning, this guy is not worth even putting back on network on ESPN, then it really lets you know about the current state of his market value. Because this is a kid that, he had everybody at the fight for him. I mean, Michael B. Jordan came out, Floyd Mayweather came out, Nas came out, Rakim came out, Terrence Crawford was there. Who else? There's a lot of people were there to see him fight, and he let a lot of people down. So look, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that Shakur can't redeem himself, but again, he couldn't have picked a worse time to, I feel at least, have this kind of performance. And then I'll go to this tweet, and then we'll get to the comments here in a second. But my man on Twitter, Real Fight Enthusiast, says that performance made him a villain, and more people will want to tune him in. Will want to tune in, and he'll get the big fights. That's got to be one of the most brain dead takes I've seen in a week. So there you have it. Yeah, a lot of people have been. I've been seeing, the Shakur fanboys that swear by him unapologetically. They've been spewing that, like, oh, well, now that people are mad that Shakur is boring, it's gonna make him a villain, and he's just gonna sell all these tickets. And that's not how it works, because if that was the case, because he's not a villain. I don't think he's a villain. He's not Floyd. He's not even like a Tank. He's not that kind of fighter. Even if he tries to be a villain, I mean, look, I'll actually play a clip for you guys, because I actually had the clip in here too, right? If he tries to play a villain, if he tries to be the overly tough villain guy, it's not going to go off well. I think Calvin Ford said it best. I was interviewing Calvin Ford last December, and he had a lot to say about sometimes this front that he feels Shakur Stevenson puts on. He's not capable of putting that front on and being the bad guy. So it's not going to work for him like that. But here's what Calvin Ford said about that last year.
The only person I can really give salute to is Shakur, because he grew up with us. That's why I get on Shakur. Sometimes he changes his media, try to be that tough guy, big dad. Just keep it real. We grew up together. Me and your grandfather, we cool. You know what I'm saying? But pure boxing. You know what I'm saying? They know Tank is different. Notice they don't say nothing like, you know what I'm saying? If you that dude, you're going to go, you know what I'm saying? They don't do that with Tank. They know Tank don't play like that. My mom, so if it's beef, you know when it's beef with us. You know what I'm saying? Because we carry it like that. But we try to stay humble. This is a sport. But guys start to run their mouth and forget who they talking to.
So there you have it. So yeah, you heard what he said. I don't got to repeat it for you guys. Calvin Ford or Shakur Stevenson is not going to be a villain, because if being quote unquote boring like that would turn you into a villain, then when people were calling Demetrius Andrade boring, because there were some fights in his career where people said he was boring, he didn't turn into a villain. He gets turned into a guy that a lot of people didn't want to see fight. They didn't want to see him, even though I like Andrade and I think he's good, and I don't think he was ever as boring as Shakur Stevenson was against De Los Santos. Him having subpar performances, or performances where he didn't get knockouts against guys he should have stopped, that didn't turn him into a villain. It just turned him into a guy that was looked at as an afterthought, as a guy that his market value wasn't high enough to command those big fights with Canelo Alvarez, like the ones I clamored for many years. So that's just what it is. So yeah. Shout out to Pops. I see you Pops. I see you Pops in the super chat. Shout out to Pops with the $5 super chat. Make sure y'all follow Pops' example. He says, hit that like button, super chat. Thank you all for your support, and happy holidays. Yes, an early happy holidays to the fine viewers and to the fine folks of True School Sports. It's going to be a very interesting time of the year. You guys know I know the holidays can sometimes be hard on everybody. I know, we just had Halloween. Thanksgiving's around the corner, Christmas is around the corner, New Year's is around the corner. I know people go through things on during the holidays. I've been there before during the holidays, many years. The holidays haven't been my favorite time of the year. So I'm gonna definitely try to go live more, because I know people go through a tough time around this time, and I want to definitely give you guys that world-class boxing content, because there's a lot of things going on. We got Obeisi Ramirez fighting September 9th here in South Florida. I'm gonna try to get out to that. WBA conventions in Orlando. I'm going to try to get out to that and definitely give you guys some more interviews. So, yeah, shout out to Pops with the super chat. But Let's go to the comments right quick. We got a lot of comments, man. By the way, guys, let me know where you're watching from, because you guys know I'm here in South Florida as always. But let me know what city, what state, what continent you guys are watching from, and I'll definitely want to see how international we are in this broadcast. Shout out to my man Larry Lopez. He says Edwin's calling for a rematch. I haven't heard him call for a rematch. You know, and I'm pretty sure he when he did his post-fight interview, he said something along the lines of he's just gonna run around the ring. So, you know, I don't know. I don't think. Look, I'm with history. I don't think a rematch is gonna do much for anybody. Like Santos is not going to knock out Shakur, and he's not gonna, even if he does outbox him, he's not going to get the decision, because, you know, Shakur is the money guy at Top Rank. So in that situation, at least. So I don't really see a need for a rematch. But what I can say is this. I would love to see Edwin Santos definitely, you know, fight Frank Martin. You know, that's an in-house PBC fight. Frank Martin was supposed to fight Shakur. Santos actually fought Shakur. So that's actually a fight that the powers that be should look to explore. At least I feel. Shout out to my main man. I see you. David Easter in the chat. Where is it? Shout out to my man David Easter with the $1.99 super chat. Much love to David. David's always here. He's always complaining about these fighters screwing him over on his bets. So I'm glad some of that money went to True School instead of, you know, Abdullah Mason going the distance on your bets. So yeah, man. Shout out to you. Go says Shakur got advice from Bud, Andre Ward, and Floyd, and still couldn't do shit to my boy Edwin, who just turned 24 and had his first ever fight at this level. Listen, Edwin's came a long way. I think, you know, you got to give him a lot of credit. This is a guy that was a relative unknown when he fought Raya Valenzuela to a lot of people. Raya was a big prospect at the time, and I was there that night in LA. Knocked him and popped his bubble. You know, he ain't been the same since. And then he lost Chris Colbert. Beat Adorno, outboxed him, and then, you know, listen, whether you thought he won the fight or was close or not, he won multiple rounds. He won more rounds than anybody thought he could have. You know, in a chess match, in a boring, long-range, mid-range chess match with Shakur Stevenson. Not many fighters could win as many rounds as he did on that particular night. I don't care what CombiBox says. I don't care what the biased ESPN propaganda commentary says. He did the best with what he could given the circumstances, I feel. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he develops. I don't think the Edwin Santos story is even close to over. It's just beginning as far as I'm concerned. You know what I'm saying? Let me see. Let me see. Who else we got? Russian says they always boo the black boxers out west. So what's new? I mean, you're not lying. I've been to fights where, what was it? I went to a fight one time. I'll tell you a story. I went to a fight one time. I went to the Andy Ruiz Luis Ortiz fight last August. I think it was last August. And who was fighting on that card? It was Isa Cruz and Eduardo Ramirez. It was two Mexican fighters. And I remember there was a dude sitting next to me, and he said, yeah. You see this? Because it was a fight where the two guys were basically toe-to-toe, no defense, just exchanging like crazy. And one of the Mexican fans behind me literally said, you see, man, he was a casual. He wasn't a hardcore boxing fan. He was like, yeah, you see, man, this is a real boxing match. This is real boxing. Not like those black guys that run around the ring, that run. I'll never forget that. That shit was crazy. Shout out to Hyro. Hyro says, yo, BT, you got the wrong black referee. The ref was Trevor Murdoch. Thank you for the correction, Hyro. I definitely appreciate it. Definitely appreciate the correction, my friend. Now, look, guys. A lot of fighters in this weight class have been running their mouth about Shakur Stevenson. A lot of guys had a lot of things to say. I mean, most notably, Devin Haney. You see what he said? He said, should have offered this bum 10%. I was being too generous. And listen, I feel like Devin has a right to feel that way because Devin put on one of the best and most entertaining fights of the year with Lomachenko. And mind you, I wasn't even excited about Lomachenko versus Devin because I remember I just got back from Japan and I was like, whatever, that fight's whatever. Devin, I thought Devin would beat Lomachenko a lot easier, and he didn't. And the fight actually turned out to be real good fight of the year candidate. So, you know, his market value increased, even though I thought he lost. And yeah, but the reality is, I don't know, man. Devin's had some boring fights too. I mean, Devin's had some bad nights too. But I'll give Devin credit because, you know, there's been fights like, you know, when I criticized him against Linares, but he was in the pocket exchanging with Linares, and that's why he got hurt. You know, so it is what it is there. But the guy that was really shooting off his mouth was your boy Ryan Garcia. Let's read his quotes verbatim and let's dissect from there. Ryan Garcia stated the following, and I quote, Shakur, he's been getting on my nerves since the amateurs. He's so arrogant, and I don't say that about nobody. But the man, he just walks around like his shit don't stink. He talks shit about everybody, and he thinks he's some type of dude who knows everything about boxing. Well, if you know everything about boxing, then why the hell did you not get to De Los Santos? He was scared of him and didn't throw any punches. He has to humble himself a little bit. You're boring as shit, and everybody knows it. That was boring. That was the best night of sleep I ever had. So there you have it. So Ryan Garcia with a lot to say about Shakur. And look, I like Ryan Garcia as I like Shakur. I'm a fan of boxing, but Ryan Garcia better worry about Oscar Duarte. He better worry about not getting slept by Oscar Duarte. And he better worry about tightening up his defense, because last time I saw him, you know, he bent the knee and he took the knee to Tank. And yes, it was a good liver shot, but he didn't show that extra bit of grit and that extra bit of gumption and that extra bit of quality, that extra bit of toughness you need to win against a fighter like Gervonta Davis. So he's got a lot of questions to answer his damn self. Straight up, he's got a lot of questions to answer his damn self. Now, is there some validity to what he's saying? Yes, but what's the old saying? Don't throw stones from a glass house. You know, he's got a lot to prove himself. He's not without fault. And he better be real careful, because this could get real bad for him if you know, he has a subpar performance against Oscar Duarte, or, you know, gets dropped, or just, you know, or even worse, maybe gets knocked out. You don't know. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, he ran his mouth a lot. You know, my guy, Rick Glazer, I saw Rick, and, you know, shout out to Rick. You know, Rick Glazer, he's a friend of the program. Rick, I have Rick's phone number, so anything I'm saying on here, I have no problem saying to Rick on the phone or on a live. But I was a little disappointed. I was a little disappointed with Rick's post-fight comments, because, you know, in my dealings with Rick Glazer over the years, I've consistently had to hear from Rick that Demetrius Andrade is boring, that Demetrius Andrade stinks, that Demetrius Andrade is not good enough to get fights with certain types of fighters. And, you know, when I tell Rick, hey, he's a 2-division champion, this guy is, you know, deserves respect, you know, Rick's not really giving him the respect I feel he should get, right? So Shakur stinks out the joint, and Rick says, here's what he said, as you can see on the screen. Lots of Shakur Stevenson jokes now, but keep this in mind. Shakur won, and there's nothing controversial about who won, as no one thought De Los Santos won, which is not true, because I remember being live for the fight here on True School Sports. A lot of people thought De Los Santos won, or it could have been a draw. But then he said, now Shakur is the WBC lightweight world champion, and that's what really counts, isn't it? Yeah, Rick, but you weren't saying this about Andrade, and let's be real. I've had these conversations. I've had them on here. We went back and forth about Demetrius Andrade over the years. And Rick Glazer, well, you know, he's mentioned the fact that Andrade's won nothing but vacant belts. Well, I mean, what? You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Shakur Stevenson win a vacant belt at 26, 30, and now 35? Like, has Shakur Stevenson, maybe Valdez, was the Valdez fight? Was he WBC? I'm pretty sure Valdez was WBC champion. So he took the belt off of maybe one guy, but he's won two of his 3 world titles in the weight classes have been vacant titles. So, you know, I just feel like Rick is not keeping that same energy. And I want to show you guys this. I want to show you guys something. So I actually responded to Rick, and you guys can see Rick is interacting with people. Like, people are tweeting Rick, and people are letting Rick have their 2 cents. And I tweeted Rick, and I know he saw it for a fact and no response. I told him right there. You guys can see about that. Shakur was more boring than last night than Andrade ever was. No response from Rick Laser. So as the old saying goes, sometimes the silence is the loudest. So, Rick, whenever I talk to him again, this is going to be a point of discussion because I don't think he's keeping that same energy. Honestly, Andrade has had literal knockdowns, and I've heard Rick Laser criticize him in fights where he put people on their ass. So it is what it is. Let me see what else we got. Okay, so I'm gonna get to this last tweet, and then I'll get to the comments, and then we'll talk about Jared Anderson here in a second because he's injecting himself into the Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney beef. But here's what Steve Kim said about Shakur Stevenson and his injury, and then I'll get to the comments after this. He stated the following, and I quote, "I don't doubt that there was or is a left-hand injury with Shakur Stevenson. Injuries happen in all sports." A couple of points on that. Point number one, when you decide to go through with the fight with an ailment, you live with the result in that performance. There are no asterisks. There are no asterisks here. Most athletes in every sport are really never 100% going into an event. Now, the severity of the injuries differ and will impact the performance at different levels. That's the reality. Point number two, but his statement about the long camp was what was really eye-opening to me. As I've said for a long time, that many training camps are too long, and in an era where boxers fight just twice a year, guys go through 10 to 12-week camps. You actually wear down your body with that long of a camp. Talking to many old school fighters and trainers who went through the process, they say you're better off fighting more often and truly sharpening your tools and grinding yourself less in the gym for months. Emmanuel Stewart told me he preferred 6 weeks to prepare for fights. But again, you could do that in an era where boxers fought a lot more. So yeah, again, activity matters in boxing. And on top of that, that's like one of Steve Kim's gospel truths. He's always talking about activity. And it's true. When a fighter is inactive, the main thing that gets affected is their timing. And as he eloquently stated in the tweet, you can literally leave the best parts of yourself in the gym. And it happens to a lot of fighters these days. A lot of these fighters, they train their asses off, and they go through these 10 to 12-week camps, and the best boxing they do is in front of 5 people in the gym and not in front of the thousands and thousands that go to watch them fight. So very, very important points there from Steve Kim. Also, I don't like when fighters say, "Oh, I wasn't 100%," because at this level, there is no such thing as 100%, in going into a fight in boxing. No way. Nobody goes through, strength conditioning, 8 weeks of sparring. Nah, and it's 100%. So that's just what it is. Let me see. Okay. Before we get to Jared Anderson, let me get up off the screen share right quick, and let me talk to the fine folks that are here. Shout out to everyone here. Make sure you run it up, smash that like button so this live gets out to more people and whatnot. Let me see. We got any interesting comments? My man right here says the Reebok running shoes are the best right now. Listen, if Shakur is not careful, Reebok might drop his ass. Urban, my man Urban right here says Keyshawn needs to go fight Abdullah Mason. Listen, I don't think that's a fight that anybody is gonna want until they have to. Abdullah Mason is someone that I've been high on for a long time. I know he sparred all these guys. I know they all know each other. One thing about Abdullah, right? And I said this in my video about him. One thing about Abdullah Mason that I love is that despite the fact that he has elite boxing skills, and I've seen him spar, I literally set up sparring for him when he came down to South Florida earlier in the year. Despite him having elite boxing skills and being able to box off his back foot, he's a guy that goes in there to butcher you. He gets great leverage on his punches. He turns his punches all the way over, and it's he's gonna be a tough guy to beat. I'm looking forward to hopefully maybe Top Rank building up Abdullah Mason versus Emiliano Vargas as the next big fight, because I feel like that could be a big fight for the future. Shout out to my main man, longtime viewer and a great personal friend of mine, Rafael Calver, Rex Righteous. He says, "Do you think because Ryan is up with money, he feels he can criticize Shakur that much?" Yeah, there's definitely a part of Ryan. There's definitely going to be a part of Ryan Garcia that feels like because he generated X amount of dollars, because he did generate a lot of money from the Tank fight. And I know the Tank fans can sit there and flap their gums and say that Gervonta Davis was the reason the event sold. No, it was both of them. It was the fan base of Gervonta Davis, and it was the casuals that Ryan Garcia brings to the sport together that made that a fight. It was a very special atmosphere being in the T-Mobile Arena. You know, the crowd was damn near 50-50. I would say it was even. You know, there were a lot of Tank fans there. There were a lot of Ryan Garcia fans there. So he definitely showed that, you know, maybe he's not as talented in the ring as Shakur Stevenson, but when it comes to the business, the market value, he's way up on Shakur Stevenson and a lot of fighters in boxing. So that's what it is. El Rosto says Oscar Duarte is garbage, True School. Well, we'll see, man. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to beat Ryan, but he does possess some punching power, and he's listen, I'm not saying I don't think he's going to win, but you can punch a little bit, so you can never fully write a guy like that off. Let me see. Boxing Gems, shout out to Boxing Gems, one of the best channels on YouTube, isn't giving Duarte much of a chance in the film study. Well, hey, Boxing Gem knows boxing. I haven't even gotten that deep into the film study yet, but from a little bit I've seen, I just give him a puncher's chance at best. And even with that, I feel like Ryan punches harder than him. It's just about with Ryan, the issue won't be punching power. The issue is going to be defensive positioning. If his defensive positioning isn't in order, then he's going to be in big trouble. My main man QC says Boo Boo is a 4-1 underdog this weekend, which is kind of crazy to me because Demetrius Andrade is a damn good fighter. I don't think he should be a 4-1 underdog in any fight. But hey, Benavidez is really hyped up in boxing right now, so I get it. Hey, make that money because there's a good chance he might F around and pull it off. Edwin didn't cut off the ring. That man was not scared of Shakur. You don't seem to understand. He challenged Shakur to come at him and show that he is not a great fighter unless. No, I do understand that. That's what I'm saying. He held his ground. Edwin normally, like when he fought, what's his name? Ryle, he was throwing 5, 6, 7 punch combinations. In this fight, Edwin held his ground in the center ring, and he was boxing with Shakur. So yes, you're correct, and I do understand that. Edwin, again, I think Edwin did as good as he possibly could have done because anytime the gap was closed on Shakur Stevenson's immediately looking at the referee and clinching Devin Santos, and the fight's having to constantly be reset all the time. So it is what it is, man. Let me see. Any other comments? I know we got a lot of other comments. By the way, guys, I know this is the end of the week and this is the Aftermath Live, but I do want to give you guys a program reminder. Beginning tomorrow is the beginning of Andrade versus Benavidez fight week. I know a lot of us are excited about Andrade versus Benavidez. I know that's probably going to be one of the funnest live fight reactions ever. So I'll be live next Saturday for the fight, or this upcoming Saturday, I should say, for the fight. And make sure you guys join me for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of people are sleeping on Demetrius Andrade. A lot of people are definitely hold on. Big Tyrone says, do your homework on the sweet science. Shakur put stop. Just stop, bro. Like, stop. Don't tell me that I need to do my homework. You need to do your homework because that wasn't the sweet science. The sweet science is transitioning from offense to defense and defense to offense and being able to, swim without getting wet, as the great Nazi Richardson said. That was not the sweet science. That was Shakur Stevenson's impersonation of Chris Bird versus DeVar Williamson, which is an overly defensive overly cautious because being defensive means that you're actually throwing something and then you're defending punches coming back at you. That's not what was happening. He was being overly cautious to even engage, which is different than actually, what you're saying. I'm gonna watch it again though. I'm gonna watch it again, and I'll have my video later on in the week. But no, Shakur Stevenson has had some great fights in his career, like performances, like when he showed the overall sweet science. Like the Jamil Herring was a great example of that. Felix Carvalho was an example of that. The Shuichiro Yoshino performance was an example of that. Those are all fights where I feel Shakur Stevenson showed a complete skill set. You know, the ability to transition from offense to defense to offense, to feint, to counterpunch, to punch to the body. That's the sweet science. This was not that. And I'm not hating. I'm not a Shakur Stevenson hater. I've been a fan of him, and I've known who he is longer than the majority of this chat. I can promise you that. All right, last thing I want to touch on, and shout out to all 68 of you here. The last thing I wanted to touch on, because this was ridiculous. So obviously, Devin Haney had a lot to say about Shakur Stevenson after the fight, and rightfully so. Devin Haney should definitely be running his mouth, and every lightweight in the world should be running their mouth, because it wasn't a great performance. That is what it is. That being said, you know, Jared Anderson and Shakur Stevenson are friends. They both have James Prince as their manager, right? So Devin said, stop that scare narrative. Nobody was even scared of that bum. He wanted clout. They all use my name for. That's all they use my name for. So then Jared Anderson, you know, he got on his high horse and he started getting tough with Devin Haney. He said, and I quote, "Say the same shit when we catch you out. You couldn't even make eye contact when you seen us." So he's obviously sticking up for his friend. He's obviously telling him that in his own words that, you know, Devin was acting kind of soft. Well, I guess whenever and wherever they saw him, and it's kind of corny, because Jared Anderson should be worried about fighting, you know, Martin Bracoli or Arslanbek Makhmudov or his FAL Jogba or just some contender. He should be worried about becoming the next American heavyweight champion and validating all this ridiculous hype that Top Rank has thrusted upon him, right? And all these ridiculous comparisons he's getting to fighters like Riddick Bowe, which, by the way, that comparison will always piss me off, because Jared Anderson is not as good as Riddick Bowe was at that age. That's just my honest to God opinion. But he's a talented heavyweight. Jared Anderson also was going back and forth with Bill Haney. Now, I don't know if you guys can see what's on the screen, the conversation, but I'll read it to you guys. So basically, Jared Anderson, the beginning of the conversation says, "I never did, but continue doing it. I win either way." And then Bill Haney says, "All good, youngster." And then he says, You're mad because your son is a bitch and can't fuck with Shakur. Let's keep it a bean." And then Bill says, "My son is rich and a boss." And then Jared says he is 100% a boss and rich, but he can't be Shakur. All three are facts. And then Bill, with a very mature response, says, "I know you would have took that offer, champ. Big things in your future. Keep going. Make smart moves in life, big fella. I'm cheering for you against everybody but my family." And then Jared says, "That's the realest shit I've heard you say." So Jared's out here going back and forth with Bill Haney, going at Devin. And it's like, man, like, Jared Anderson's making it like hard to not, like, I don't want to criticize. I don't want to be that guy, because at the end of the day, like, who am I in the grand scheme of things? I'm just a kid from Dania, kid from South Florida, a young man from South Florida with a flamingo painting on his wall that loves boxing. But Jared Anderson, like Larry Lopez says, Jared Anderson sounds like a straight clown. And it ain't the first time he sounded like a clown. You guys, I never made a video about this, so I'm probably gonna clip this out, because I never made a video about it. I let it slide, but I can't let it slide because it ties into what I'm saying. You're supposed to be worried about being the next heavyweight champion of the world, or trying to be the next heavyweight champion in the world. And you over here picking fights with lightweights, you know. Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney is not business that pertains to you, so you got to mind the business that pays you, champ. Remember when he said this? He said, I don't feel like I have to be world champion. Who says shit like this? He said this back on September 7th, just so you guys know. And I didn't make a video about it. I let it slide. I said literally nothing about it. But he said, and I quote, "I don't feel like I need to be undisputed champion, and I don't feel like I need to be a world champion." He then went on by saying that his retirement target date is 27 years old, which I ain't mad at. And he says by that time he figures he'll be overflowing with life-changing money, and you know, he's gonna have himself set up for good after boxing. And then he said, he ended in the article by saying, I quote, "I don't need validation. I know who I am." Now, he keeps saying this. He keeps saying, now look, be confident. Don't seek outside approval, people. But Jared Anderson he might need a lesson on like the business of boxing. He might, because the reality is this, especially heavyweight boxing, you don't even make money until you start fighting for titles or get to that world title level. So what you're gonna do? You're gonna fight the number 15 guy and just expect Top Rank to shell out money and overpay you for the rest of your career? That's not how it's gonna happen. It's not gonna go down like that. So he's gonna have to fight for heavyweight championships one day if he wants to make the kind of money that he's fantasizing about and talking about. That's just the honest truth about Big Baby Anderson. And truth be told, I don't even want to call him Big Baby Anderson, because really he never even proved himself to be the real Big Baby Anderson, because he never fought Jarrell Miller, the real Big Baby. So until he fights Jarrell Miller, I don't want to hear nothing about him being Big Baby. He's just Jared. He's just Jared. So I don't get it. I don't know who's in his ears. I don't know like who's influencing him to say this bullshit, but he's got to do better. Stop worrying about Devin Haney. Stop worrying about what they got going on, and you need to worry about fighting Otto Wallin. You got to worry about fighting, trying to get a Philip Hrgovic fight. Get an Arslanbek Makhmudov fight or Efe Jagba or someone, because the reality is this: there's a lot of question marks about Jared Anderson. The only guy he's really fought with any semblance of credibility in the sport has been Charles Martin. And I remember watching that fight, and Charles Martin put him on Queer Street. So again, I don't have no hatred for Jared Anderson, none of these fighters. I love life, I love people, and I don't hate the guy, but he's on some bullshit. He's absolutely on some bullshit, and I'm calling it out. I'm calling it out for what it is, because Jared Anderson, I understand there's a lot of pressure on the shoulders, and it goes back. Hold on. Let's go back to the original main idea of this video. Shout out to Punch Drunk Boxing in the chat. I see you. But to go back to the main idea of this video, this was quoted to Jared Anderson. So I'm gonna become Pastor True School, Pastor BT here for a second. I'm gonna ask to pass the collection plate around, and I'm gonna start off with the original main idea of this live, which was what I told Shakur Stevenson. This was also quoted to Jared Anderson from none other than Roy Jones himself. Hold on, this ad blocker bullshit. Hold on, man. Luke 12:48. It was quoted to Jared Anderson from Roy Jones himself. I'll highlight it for you. Let's read it again, ladies and gentlemen. For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall much be required. To whom men have committed much, of him they will ask that much more. Listen, if God blesses you with talent, if he puts you in an advantageous position to make something of yourself in the world, to make money, to live out your dreams, to fulfill your God-given destiny, there's a lot that comes with that. Okay, and you don't got time to be out here, getting into lightweight business. You don't got time out here to be beefing with Devin Haney. You gotta worry about finding these contenders and showing the world who's Jared Anderson. Who is this amazing light heavyweight talent from Toledo, Ohio? Because I don't like calling fighters hype job, because again, who am I at the end of the day? But right now, the Jared Anderson hype ain't matching the talent. And he's got a lot more to prove in this sport. So I don't like seeing that from him, just being honest with you. And I hope that in due time he'll mature, not just inside the ring, not just outside the ring, but mentally as a person, because he's still acting like a kid, So that's just my opinion. But nonetheless, I've said what I needed to say. Shout out to everyone here. It's the Untouchable True School Sports Empire. Let me go to the comments. I know I saw I had a super chat. What was the super chat at? Shout out to my main man, Cesar the $2 super chat. He's loyal viewer of the channel. I always see him here showing love, showing that appreciation. So, yeah, shout out to you, Cesar. Hope all is well. Jared's dedication is in the question. Yeah, I mean, look, that's the main thing. He's got the talent, he's got the speed, he can switch hit. There's a lot of things he can do at that size that a lot of heavyweights wish they could do. But in this division, it's all about the mind. In the heavyweight division, it's all about the mind and the maturation of a heavyweight, and he's got a long way to go. So, hopefully it works out. Hopefully it works out. Slide encounter, what's good, champ? He says, I feel bad for De Los Santos. He's high risk, low reward, and has the ability to compete with the other great lightweights in the ring. I like to see him versus Morin or another top level contender. That's definitely the fight. If I'm Al Heyman, if I'm PBC, the fine folks there, that's the fight they should look to make, because they both have, I don't want to say a common opponent, but technically they kind of do, because Frank was supposed to fight Shakur, but he didn't. Edwin fought Shakur and he did. And even without Shakur, this is still a fight that should have been on the radar. They're both, young. The lightweights that had something to prove. They're both explosive punchers. I think that'd be a great fight for the lightweight division. And that would give us a lot more clarity as to who's who at 135. And then the winner of that could, definitely make a case for themselves to get big fights in the future. So, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What else we got? Shout out to my guy, Hyro. Hyro says, don't worry. That PBC card is stacked. It's not on free TV because we're getting that quality. It'll definitely be a fun card. I know the fight I'm looking forward to this weekend, maybe even a little bit more than the main event, because the main event is great. Andre Benavidez is going to be an amazing fight, but that Ergashev versus Subriel Matias fight, I mean, it don't get much better. It don't get much better for me. I've been talking about that fight since I was in Japan when they first started mentioning it, and that's one of the most violent fights in boxing. And I'm going to give respect to Subriel Matias for taking this fight, because I don't think there's many fights he could have had for his first title defense that would be as difficult as a Ergashev, which I know, look, Ergashev doesn't have a great resume. I get all that. But if you've watched him fight, if you've actually just looked at him fight, that guy is nothing to be played with. He's got punch power in both hands. He's got deep amateur pedigree. It's gonna be a tough fight. I don't think Matias has ever fought somebody with that kind of punching power coming his way. Probably since maybe he fought the Kazakh fighter Jukumbayev, maybe. I don't know. I have to go look at his resume, but it's definitely one that deserves attention. It deserves people to get hyped for it. And I'll definitely have a breakdown on that later on in the week. Let me see. Now we're just freestyling. Now we just freestyling now. Shout out to my man San. He says Arthur Biarstanov, the Chechnya Wolf, needs more coverage on True School Sports. In my opinion, Ergashev beats Matias on Saturday. Too explosive and sharp. Arthur beats the both of them. Much more polished and more rounded. Yeah, I don't think I've ever made a video about Arthur Biarstanov, but I know who he is. I've seen him fight. I know Rick Glazer has some sort of something to do with his career. So Rick's mentioned him on here a couple times when he's come on, and I know a couple fighters who have sparred him personally. So, I don't know where he's at in his career right now. I don't know how far he is from a world title, because I haven't been keeping the closest tabs on him, but I know he's a good fighter. From the hands, a couple of times I've seen him, I know he can fight. But as far as Ergashev, I mean, look, my only thing for Ergashev in that fight is I'm hoping he doesn't become too repetitive, because I feel like his style can get repetitive. I was down there at Warriors Gym, where he trains out here in South Florida. I was down there back in August watching him work the heavy bag a little bit and train, and his style can get a bit repetitive. And with a guy like Matias is gassing, I can see Matias figuring him out in the latter parts of that fight and ultimately breaking him down. So it's going to be definitely a challenge, that fight for him. But listen, I'm just happy that it's happening. Slide Encounter says that Matias really opened my eyes with the fights against Petros Anian, Jukumbayev, ahead of me as Ponce. Yes, those are all. No, none of those guys are big names, but I mean, Petros Anian, tough, rugged guy. Jukumbayev, sharp, southpaw power puncher. Ahead of me is Ponce, really, really durable pressure fighter that doesn't know how to go backwards. So he's been able to break down all those guys, with the exception of Petros Anian. He lost to Anian the first fight, had eventually avenged it, and to his credit, he did. But it's Bril Matias. He's definitely someone that I feel like if he wins this fight, if he beats Ergashev in decisive fashion, I'm gonna look at him a little bit differently because I think Ergashev is better than all those guys you mentioned. I think he punches hard. I think he's quicker, more athletic, and he punches harder than Anian or Ponce or Petros Anian. But that's just me. I know David. I know there were a lot of things that happened in boxing yesterday, so I'll touch on some things from yesterday a little bit. Diego Pacheco, he did his damn thing yesterday. I'm very impressed by what I'm seeing from Diego Pacheco. A lot of people I've seen have been critical of Diego Pacheco because they say his defense got real leaky, which it did. I mean, Coceres is a very awkward guy. Coceres, everyone he's ever fought, whether it be Berlanga, Billy Joe Saunders, Miriam Nurslatanov, everyone that man has ever fought, he has been a tough out. He's laid serious leather on everybody, and he's even in some cases, in the case of Berlanga, put them on their ass, right? So Coceres is no easy walk in the park, especially if you're someone like Pacheco who's 22 years old, right? And Pacheco, I keep saying it, and I said it in my video, I'll say it here. Pacheco may be 22, but I feel like mentally and boxing-wise, he's operating with the mind of a 32-year-old. He's very advanced for his age. And, my man, my guy, my longtime viewer of the channel, MEZBX, he wants to know, did I see Berlanga's tweet last night? And of course I saw Berlanga's tweet last night. I saw it like the minute he tweeted it, I saw it. And if they were to fight next, I would favor Diego Pacheco, which is crazy because, I don't think physically he's as mature as a Berlanga. Berlanga's 26, so his body's filled out, but I just think he's better. He's just better than Berlanga. He's just better. He's a better boxer. He's a better slugger. I think he's even got better feet. I just think he's a better fighter than Berlanga damn near everywhere around the board. The only way Berlanga is going to beat him is if they exchange, and Berlanga's got to hope and pray that his strength is just going to overwhelm this kid. Because if that doesn't work, he's losing. He's losing to Pacheco. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Berlanga was saying, if Marcelo Coceres would have fought him like he fought Pacheco, then he would have got him out there in 2 rounds. And I didn't really understand why he was saying that because, Coceres was right there for him to hit. Coceres ain't no fast, don't got no fast feet or anything like that. So Coceres isn't going anywhere. So I don't get where he came with that whole assessment. But that's a fight I would love. I would still like Diego to take one more fight. I would like to see Pacheco fight maybe like a Bektir Melakuziev or like a Sergey Derevinchenko caliber of opponent. And I feel like if he get past that test, then you can make the Berlanga fight. Because he's still growing. I mean, he's only fought his last couple of fights. He fought Jack Cullen, Manuel Gallegos, and now Coceres. So I feel like he needs another step up before he gets to that level. That's just my that's my assessment. But I know some of you guys disagree. I know Jefe, he's not trying to hear what I'm saying. He's saying Pacheco is still green. I think Munguia stops him with the chin like Diego is a twig. Yeah, a couple people have told me that. Munguia obviously is a lot more physically mature than Pacheco. So, I definitely think that that would be an interesting fight. Again, if Pacheco were to beat a guy like Derevinchenko, then I would think the Munguia fight would be more realistic. But right now, not quite yet. So I would wait. I would wait for that one. But yeah, Oscar didn't mention that one. Oscar didn't mention. I know Oscar was talking about Munguia versus I don't know. He was talking about all kinds of fights. He mentioned Kambosos versus Zapata, and then George Kambosos shot him down. So we'll see, man. I've been high on Diego Pacheco from 5 years now. For like 4 or 5 years, I've been gassing up Diego Pacheco. I've always thought he was Eddie Hearn's best American talent, and he continues to show me why I was right to think that. By the way, shout out to one of my favorite people, Michael Manning. Shout out to Michael Manning. We see you, champ. Where is it? Michael Manning. He said Gary Anton Russell is in the PBC protection program with gift cut with the gift, and he turned down big fight after big fight. Yeah, had a horribly managed career. It seems like a lot of guys at 140, though, him and Brandon Lee, because Brandon Lee, he ain't really doing much, and Gary ain't doing much. So I feel like Gary and Brandon should be fighting each other, But PBC has their own plans, so I guess we'll see them in like 18 months. What happened to Munguia fighting Shane? I don't know. I don't know about that one, champ. I don't want to see that fight. Shout out to Shane Mosley Jr. He's a good guy, he's a solid fighter, but Munguia won his first world title in 2018 against Saddam Ali, and when he beat Saddam Ali, Saddam Ali was a welterweight who fought another welterweight who happened to have a belt at 54 in Kodo. It was supposed to be a cherry pick, and it was a cherry pick that went horribly wrong. And he jumped on the opportunity, and it's been 5 years, and he's still being moved, very slowly, very carefully. And I think now it's time for the Santa Fe Promotions, De La Hoya, and all the fine folks there to take the training wheels off. He can fight. He's good. He's solid. You can put him in a real fight. Now he wants to know. He wants to know about Shane Mosley Jr. and recycling him as an opponent. Let's examine that. Let's pull up the box check right quick, because Shane Mosley Jr. I like him. I remember when he fought Gabe Rosado and he beat him, and that was like the highlight of his life. And I was there in person. Me, my boy Johnny, and Angelo Leo. We all went to the Mandalay Bay when he fought Quigley on the undercard. And he lost a very close fight. But let's talk about that one, because I feel like I've seen him recycle before, but I'm not entirely sure because I don't remember his resume like that well off the top. So let's examine it right quick. So here we go. Shout out to everyone here, by the way. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. So this is Shane Mosley Jr.'s box rec, right? So he's got 24 fights in the professional ranks. Obviously, the son of Shane Mosley. So let's see who has he fought that you got. Why are you guys saying that he's been recycled? So he fought Maurice Lee's brother and knocked his ass out, Devon Lee. He fought, who else did Mosley fight? He fought Brandon Adams and lost. Okay, fought Brandon Adams. Fought Quigley. Fought Rosado. I don't know if you can really say he fought Demetrius Bell. I don't know if you can really say he's been recycled, because normally when you recycle an opponent, you're recycling an opponent with top guys, like with fighters that are actually big names, and he really hasn't fought many big names. So I don't know if recycle is the proper word I would use for him, but he's definitely been around the block. Red, what's good, champ? Shout out to you. He said, what's up, BT? What's up with you? Hercules says, BT had a lot of boxing knowledge and entertaining. I got to go. All right. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for anybody who's stopped by. My man Al says, Munguia is the biggest duck in boxing. Man, y'all don't got no love for Haney Munguia? All the exciting fights he gave you? No love. No love from Haney Munguia. I'll tell you this. I'm still salty about Dennis Hogan getting absolutely shafted, robbed, in broad daylight. Dennis Hogan beat his ass and should have been a champion. Here goes. Hyro says David Morrell is a southpaw. As a southpaw, is a living nightmare for Pacheco. He's bigger and has man-shaped with skills. Might be a tough fight for him now. Me and you had this conversation last night. I think in about a year, possibly 2, I think Diego beat David Morrell. Honestly, I don't think David Morrell's fought anybody as skilled as Pacheco. I don't think David Morrell's fought anybody with a straight right hand like a Pacheco. And I don't think he's going to be throwing all them punches like you think against Pacheco, because he's going to get countered and he's going to get hit with some shit. And he'll have to box a little differently. But I ain't mad at you. David Morrell's a special talent. I think David Morrell has a chance to beat anybody in the world. He's a great talent, But I think the world of Pacheco. I think Pacheco's going to be someone to reckon with. in the not so distant future. Let me see. I like to see Berlanga, Munguia, Pacheco versus Carlos Gongora. Gongora is tough. Gongora is a guy that, he fought Christian and Billy, can obviously punch. Gongora is a good fight against anybody. Gongora versus Pacheco, I think, would be most ideal because Gongora would present the kind of danger. I don't think Pacheco's fought. Let me see. Yeah, I don't think Pacheco's fought anybody that punches like a Carlos Gongora. So that's the kind of fight I would like to see them explore. But who knows? Who knows what they're planning? Talk about Frank Martin will put Shakur to sleep. That dude is trash. I don't think Frank Martin. I mean, I know right now it's popular to hate on Shakur and say Shakur is not that good and Shakur is trash. But I don't think that would happen. I don't think Frank Martin would do that. I think Frank's issue in that fight, and you saw it in the Artur Haratunian fight. He's got a good gas tank. He's very explosive, but I don't think he knows his range that well. So sometimes I don't think he knows when to be explosive and when to box, and that would be his problem. That would be his downfall in that fight. Shakur's understanding of range gives him a big advantage in that fight if they would ever fight. From my perspective, at least. El Jefe says Diego must be your friend. We're cool. I wouldn't say we're cool. We're cool. We talk on Instagram sometimes, but nah. Friend or no friend, like what's funny? I want to address this. I want to address this because this has been happening a lot in the last week or so. With I've been posting a lot about Angelo Leo because he had his recent fight. So I've been I posted some clips and some shorts of him and him talking about Inoue and whatnot. A lot of you guys think that if somebody's my friend, that skews how I see the boxing bullying, and that's just not true. I have friends right now. I'm not going to say their names, but I have friends in boxing right now that are ranked in certain weight classes who I don't think have a snowball's chance in hell of beating the champions. But and I'm not going to sit here and say who they are. But just because somebody's my friend doesn't mean I can't properly call things out for what they are. Now, if I tell you that I think someone is a top fighter, I really mean that shit. And it doesn't matter if it's my friend or they're not my friend. That has nothing to do with it. I can separate the person from the fighter. You know what I'm saying? So and by the way, yeah, Pacheco was somebody, even before I knew Diego, I was always high on him. Those old prospect review videos from when he had 7 or 8 pro fights, they're still up. You can go watch them. It's not anything new. Rex Righteous says, "Yo, BT, what do you think about Jared Anderson getting a DUI? What do you think about Jared Anderson getting a DUI all while this is going on with him? Should he be focusing on fighting? Oh, look, man, a lot of these guys are young. He made a mistake. I didn't really think anything of it. I just thought of it as a young guy, making a mistake, doing dumb shit. That's what I thought about it. I didn't really think anything more of it than that. Shouldn't he be focusing on fighting? I mean, look, these fighters always focus. Fighters do 8-week training camps, and I don't think people understand what that means. So sometimes when you give these fighters a little bit of freedom, they go crazy, and I can't blame them because 8-week training camps are grueling. But you just got to make better decisions. That's all I can say. I can't really speak more on that I can't say more on it than that. And one is not Isaac Chamberlain. No, it's not Isaac Chamberlain. I'm not gonna tell you who it is, but it's not Isaac. But Isaac Chamberlain's a good fighter. He's definitely, he's ranked in the IBF. I hope Ben Shalom and Boxer don't try to make him do that bullshit Vidal Riley fight because he really should be able to fight the contenders. What did I think about Troy Isley's fight? Yeah, I just dropped my video on that this morning. I thought it was a close fight. I personally thought that Vladimir Hernandez nicked it. I liked the intelligent pressure and the volume punching of him. But Troy did some good things. Troy, I wanted to see Troy Isley show some different things in the fight. He did show some different things in the fight. Like I saw him turning and using his footwork a lot more in the fight. So I was happy to see that. I thought he set up his right hand very nicely throughout the fight. There were a lot of positive building blocks there, but I personally thought Vladimir Hernandez won the fight by a point or two. But I'm not mad if you thought Troy won, or if you you know, I thought Vladimir should have got it, but you know, Vladimir's a gatekeeper and didn't have the promotional backing, so they weren't going to let Vladimir Hernandez get another upset. This guy just upsets everybody. He just took the old Lorenzo Truck Simpson, who everybody used to be high on because he's Gervonta Davis's brother, and you know, he's also upset Julian Williams, and then he's beaten Pedro Angulo. Vladimir Hernandez is the real deal. I love watching him fight. I could watch Vladimir Hernandez fight every single day of my life and never get tired of him. That's how entertaining he is. And it's not and he's a Mexican fighter that, you know, has got a good polished jab. You know, he moves very well. He moves his head very well. Defensively responsible. I wish they would have given it to him, honestly, because, you know, Troy Isley's problem is when he steps up, he's gonna have problems keeping some of the harder punching middleweights off of him. Like, for example, let's just say, like, hypothetically, if he were to get a fight with, like, let's say, an Elijah Garcia, who's known for punching out that southpaw stance, I don't think Troy Isley has anything to keep Elijah Garcia off of him, and he's gonna get broken down and folded up. That's what I think. I don't think he'd be able to outbox a guy like an Elijah Garcia for 12 rounds in a you know, a fight for like an eliminator or something like that. So he's got work. He's got some work to do, no doubt about it. Can Nick Ball beat Ray Vargas? Yeah. Hey, shout out to Nick Ball. Nick Ball had a good performance yesterday against Dog Bay. I definitely think he could beat Ray Vargas. Easier said than done. Vargas is a fighter that, you know, doesn't have a crowd pleasing style, but you know, he knows who he is, and he fights to that strength. And Nick Ball, one thing about him is he's a versatile volume puncher. So he's very good about punching around the guard, and he's physical when he's just a mean guy. So I think he's got a great chance to beat Vargas. But I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen with the WBC at featherweight, because I know Brandon Figueroa is the interim champion, so I'm not sure if Brandon Figueroa fights Vargas for the belt, or maybe if the WBC orders Figueroa versus Ball as the final eliminator. I'm not sure what's going on. So maybe you guys can tell me about what's going to happen with that, because I'm kind of confused on that whole situation. Shout out to everybody here. Dundada says a lot of these top-ranked prospects are going to soon be exposed. Shit, a couple of them. Man, I'll tell you this, man. If Floyd Cashflow Diaz didn't get them 2 knockdowns against Max Ornelas, he would have got exposed. But he was fortunate to get those 2 knockdowns. I think, you know, I was talking to Max Ornelas on Instagram yesterday, and he had expressed to me that you know, although he made some good adjustments down the stretch, he did say that the weight did have an effect on his punch resistance. So you know, he's going to try to stay at 122 from here on out, and you know, try to make a run there, which is what I think he should do. You know, fight at 122 and try to take advantage of a division that, you know, well, it's still good. There's still good fighters at 122, but it's definitely thinned out a little bit. You know, Cashflow was underdog. I think a lot of people were wrong picking Ornelas. Yeah, I mean, I was wrong. About picking Ornelas, but I think Top Rank did a good job making that fight 8 rounds, because if it was 10 rounds, I think Ornelas would have beat him. You know? And yes, I did see that, David. Carlos Cuadras, he beat Pedro Guevara in a eliminator, and he's gonna wind up getting some sort of title shot now. So it's crazy. So I actually have a video coming out on that soon. I'm gonna make a video about him and TJ Doheny in the same video, because they're the old guys in the lower weight classes that are still here. They're still making noise in boxing. It's great to see. Let me see. Can you buy more Heart? Delos Santos needs to inquire. I don't think Heart's anything you can purchase. I mean, I think you either have it or you don't. I don't think Delos Santos lost the fight because he lacked Heart. I think Delos Santos lost the fight because, you know, he had a fighter that wasn't willing to engage, and he was, you know, I don't know. It's a hard set of circumstances for him to overcome. Just being honest. But he did the best he could, and that's all that matters. You know, that's all that matters. But listen, guys, let me see. I'm gonna stay on for like 5 more minutes. I'm not trying to make this a long live. You know, I'm still recovering from the 7-hour live on Saturday. I just wanted to come on here and talk to you guys a little bit. You know, say my piece and put the bow on top of the Shakur Stevenson aftermath. And, definitely set our sights on Andre Benavidez fight week. But, I'll take some questions for 5 more minutes, and then we'll get up off here. So fire your questions away. What do you think Matchroom's plan is of Mark Castro? Because I don't see it. Well, with Mark Castro is he's still, this weekend, it was only his 11th pro fight. So I know it seems like he's been around longer than he really has been, but he only has 11 fights. And from what I was reading, because I couldn't figure out yesterday if he was a 135 pounder or a 130 pounder, but he's a 130 pounder. He's a 130 pounder. And I think that's actually the better route for him to go, because with the way he fights, I don't think he'll punch hard enough to hurt the 135 pounders. But at 130, I think he can make some noise. So I think they're going to try to keep building that record up at some point real soon. They'll probably, I would say in the next 3 to 4 fights, they'll probably get him to fight for some sort of regional belt. I don't think he's ranked. Let me see if he's ranked. Let's see if he's ranked real quick. They'll probably get him to fight for some sort of regional belt, get him in the rankings, and then we'll have a clear picture on what he's going to do in the next couple of fights. But yeah, you're not wrong for thinking how you think about Mark Castro. Because sometimes I'm kind of like, he's just fighting, like, but where's he going? So let's see, 130. Is he ranked anywhere on 130? He's not ranked at 130, and I don't think he's ranked at 35, right? Yeah, he ain't ranked nowhere. So yeah, he's still building himself up. He's still got things to do. Are you bringing Rick Glazer back soon? Yes, I am. I'm not sure if I will this week. Maybe the week after Andre Benavidez, because I'm trying to actually get a couple interviews in with some fighters this week. So I'm talking to one fighter now. I might be interviewing him tomorrow, so we'll see how it goes. But definitely within the next 2 weeks, I'll be bringing him back. Where we at? BT, does Zepeda have the style to beat a guy like Shakur who doesn't like to engage? He does if he can get him, if he can close the gap and get him and prevent him from clinching. Yes, he does, because he just throws so many punches. But people always laugh at me when I say this, but I like Vaquero. I think Vaquero's awkwardness and his crafty body punching would give Shakur some problems, and his gas tank. That's how I feel. But that's just me. I think Jarrell Miller smokes Dubois, bro. Stoppage, man. I'll tell you this, man. If Jarrell Miller stops Dubois, man, Dubois is gonna look like one of the biggest hype jobs in boxing. And I don't like using that word, but he shouldn't be losing to no damn Jarrell Miller, who is definitely one of the most pillow-fisted heavyweights in the division. That's why he throws, like, Big Baby always talks about, I throw 80 punches around and all this. He has to throw 80 punches around because he don't really punch like that. He don't got one punch power. So Odebek and Ford, they haven't announced the official location yet, but I know that the fight is scheduled for a purse bid. I don't remember the exact date, but you know what? Let me check. Let me check right now while I'm talking to you. I know the purse bid is coming up soon. Listen, I want that fight to get announced like as soon as possible, because that's the first fight I want to go to in 2024. If I don't go to Angelo's fight, and by the way, guys, I don't know if y'all know, because he announced it on Instagram, but Angelo Leo does have another date. Angelo doesn't have an opponent yet, but he's gonna Pro Box is bringing Angelo back in January. At some point in January, he said on Instagram they're bringing him back. So Odebek and Angelo, that's gonna be my January. That's my two of my favorite featherweights in action. Hopefully in January to kick off 2024. Let me see. Purse bid. So the purse bid is going to be November 27th, and it's going to be on. Let me see. Here, I'll put it on the screen for you guys, so you guys can see for yourself what I'm viewing right now. Because a lot of people, I know this fight is a big interest to a lot of people, because I know I've gassed up Odebek Komotov to no end, because I really do believe in him as a fighter. Like I really do think the world of him as a fighter. I've seen him spar so many rounds at Warriors Gym, and I don't think there's many fighters in boxing that train as hard as him, to be honest with you. He trains extremely, extremely hard. So, just to even have a chance to beat him, you got to train as hard as him. And I don't think many fighters in boxing, let alone the featherweight division, can. But as you guys can see right here, all right, so it says the respective teams for Otabek, Komatov, and Raymond Ford were unable to make use of their assigned 30-day negotiation period for the ordered vacant WBA featherweight title fight. The bout will now have a purse bid, which the WBA has scheduled for November 27th via Zoom, as administered from its stateside office in Houston. Both boxers will be due 50% of the winning bid as the two highest ranked contenders. The winner of their eventual bout will fill the void left behind recent two-time champion Lee Wood. So there you have it. So they said it's going to be on Zoom. I wonder if the boxing fans are going to be able to watch the purse bid, because I would like to watch the purse bid. I want to know what the purse bid's going to be. I don't think the Komatov purse bid is going to be that high, because number one, Raymond Ford is not a big money guy, and Otabek Komatov doesn't have a big promoter. So if I had to take a guess, and we could always revisit this later, but if I had to take a guess on what I think the purse bid is going to be, I don't think that purse bid gets above $350,000. I think it'll be below. I think that overall purse bid will go for below $350,000. Yeah, because the market value of Otabek just isn't high enough right now. And Raymond Ford doesn't have a high market value either, just due to the fact that he don't got a big fan base like that. He's had a couple gift decisions, so most boxing fans don't even like him, and he shushes people, So I don't see it being a big fight. But listen, to hell with how much the purse bid is going to be. It's going to be a great fight. It's two guys, but I think a lot to prove. And my man Hurricane Hank says Otabek is one bad dude. I absolutely, and I'm gonna definitely get that interview with him hopefully soon. I just gotta get down there to the gym. Let me see. Yeah, a lot of you guys seem to think that Jarrell Miller is gonna beat Daniel Dubois. That's crazy. I didn't know that y'all hated. I didn't know that y'all didn't believe in Dubois like that. Murataya has a better. You know what? That's a hell of a fight. I would love to see Shakur versus Murataya at some point. I would love to see that fight, because Murataya is really, he don't talk a whole lot, but he's really making a name for himself in that boxing ring. So that's definitely one to watch for the future. He said, "Watch your mouth against Raymond." Look, Raymond Ford's a good fighter. I wish him the best. I want to see a good fight, but I don't think he's gonna beat. I don't think he's gonna beat Otabek Komatov. But if he does, again, I'm not so arrogant that I can't give a fighter credit if they go out there and they prove me wrong. David East says, I think out of all Uzbek fighters, Komatov and Islam Majimov are the most skilled. Majimov's pretty damn good. I kind of forget about him sometimes, but he's a good fighter. Let me see. Got Majimov, Bekbuli, Mirjan Akhmadaliev, Jalalov. I ain't mad at that. I ain't mad at what you're saying. MEZBX says he's got Raymond Ford. Hey, I ain't mad at it, man. I ain't mad at it. I got Otabek by a late round stoppage. Raj Baldo wants to know, BT, did you see Nick Ball versus Isaac Dogbe? I did watch it. I watched the whole card. It was a great. What? I gotta give Frank Warren a lot of credit. That card yesterday, top to bottom, was an amazing card. You had two upsets. Harry Scarf upset Ekal Esteman, who was highly ranked welterweight. So now he's British Commonwealth champion. Now all of a sudden his career is in a much better place because of the win. You had Nathan Haney, who really never fought anything close to a Denzel Bentley caliber fighter, outboxed Denzel Bentley in a really fun British title fight. And then Nick Ball versus Isaac Dogbe, a real fun fight, a lot of good exchanges. Nick Ball outworked and got the better of the exchanges against Dogbe. Yeah, just overall good day of boxing from Frank Warren. So shout out to Queensberry Promotions. Don Dada said Raymond Ford is just not at that high level, just like American boxing was going down. Paulie was right. Look, Raymond Ford, I just don't think he's being Otabek. That's it. if he does, it's only going to be because he shows a different quality and a different level. That's just my honest to God opinion. But hey, just waiting for this purse bid. Purse bid is what 8-9 days away. So we'll know more once this purse bid happens. We'll have a date, location, all that good stuff. But listen, guys, on that note, I'm gonna wrap this up because it's almost 10 o'clock. It's almost 10 o'clock here on the East Coast, and I do have some other things to tend to, and I want to get some rest because I ran 9 miles on South Beach today, so I'm a little tired. But listen, thank you guys for stopping by on this live and the live fight reaction on Thursday. Definitely, make your plans for Saturday. It's going to be a momentous occasion, a historic event. A historic event, a historic live between Andre and Benavidez. I know both fan bases are very passionate about this fight, so I know I'm going to have a lot of fun. I'll be supporting Demetrius Andre, but best wishes to Benavidez as well on what I think will be a great fight. And I'll definitely have at least 1 or 2 lives during the week leading into the fight. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for all the other content. I got 2 videos dropping tomorrow. I got more shorts coming out. I got a lot of things on the horizon, man. WBA convention. I don't want to give you guys a guarantee, but I believe I will be there. And then also Rabis Ramirez is fighting here, so I gotta go hit up Top Rank for credentials to that, and hopefully they oblige. And that's what it is. But on that note, you guys take care. God bless. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just kidding. So until next time, take care, guys.